On the night of their wedding, the woman drugged her own husband, rendering him unconscious. Then she goes on a date with her enemy. Slowly, she undressed herself. Approaching the man before her, she quickly extracted a concealed dagger and quickly stabbed the man, first in his body and then in his heart. The man fell to the ground, lifeless. The woman's name was Moya, and her lover Colin was preparing to lead their tribe of 400 against the Roman army to prevent their enslavement. In order to prevent Colin from risking his life, she offered her body as a condition. She hoped Marcus would spare their people in exchange for her body, but Marcus didn't agree, so Moya decided to kill Marcus. After killing Marcus, she sneaked outside the camp, preparing to flee. Unexpectedly, Marcus appeared behind her. She hadn't anticipated that he had survived. Marcus bound Moya to a cross, intending to make her witness the destruction of her tribe. Under the cover of night, the Roman army launched a surprise attack on Colin's tribe. They were no match for the Romans. Colin, awakened by the commotion, stumbled towards the battle, but the effects of the drug weakened his body. He didn't get far before he was buried under a collapsing beam. When Colin regained consciousness, he discovered the bodies of his tribesmen scattered around and Moya bound to a cross. He hurriedly rescued Moya. In her final moments, Moya begged Colin not to seek revenge but to lead a fulfilling life. After burying Moya, Colin disguised himself and infiltrated Marcus' camp. However, Marcus seemed to have sensed Colin's presence. Marcus decided to give Colin an opportunity for revenge. The two engaged in a duel in an open space. But Colin was no match for Marcus. After 2 rounds, he was killed by Marcus. Surprisingly, Colin's horse carried his lifeless body to a sacred place, followed by Marcus. However, fighting was prohibited within the sanctuary, and Marcus had to leave. As time passed, Colin's wounds miraculously healed. With a flash of lightning, he opened his eyes. Then an old man with white hair appeared behind Colin. The old man revealed to Colin that he had gained the power of the undead. As long as his head remained intact, he would continually resurrect. However, if his head was severed, the opponent would acquire his power. Marcus, like Colin, possessed the same ability. When 2 undead met, they could sense each other's presence. Driven by anger, Colin, unwilling to listen to the old man's explanations, picked up his weapon and embarked on a journey of revenge. He overcame numerous obstacles and arrived at Marcus' palace. Colin launched a direct attack, but he was still no match for Marcus. He was quickly gravely injured by Marcus. Just as Marcus was about to cut off Colin's head, a group of rebels rushed into the palace. Colin survived. From that point on, wherever Marcus led his army, Colin followed. This cycle repeated for nearly 1,000 years. Colin followed Marcus around. Every time he was killed by Marcus, he came back to life. Then, he went on to seek revenge on Marcus. In a church, Marcus shared his vision with Colin, that is to create a world of his own. Due to the church's sanctity, Marcus had to temporarily spare Colin. Time flew by, and Colin couldn't tell how many years had passed. Suddenly, he sensed the presence of an undead nearby. Thinking it might be Marcus, he went to investigate. To his surprise, the undead attacked him without giving him a chance to explain. Colin had no choice but to fight back. Swiftly, he severed the head of the undead, causing its body to erupt with powerful energy. Colin's own body reacted to the surge of power. When the undead's head is cut off, he will die completely, and his power will be transferred to Colin's body. Afterwards, Colin sought refuge in a tavern to rest. Suddenly, a seductive woman approached him, her appearance reminding him of his wife, Moya. Just as Colin was lost in his memories, Dalia interrupted him. She brought Colin back to her home, hoping to help him relax. However, Colin declined her offer and directly asked Dalia why she sought him out. It turned out Dalia wanted Colin's help to steal some antidotes from a research facility. The ruler of this city is secretly doing some biological experiments, and the people here are his subject. But Colin had no interest in these matters. His only focus was to confront Marcus and seek revenge. He turned to leave. Dalia followed. On the way, Colin caught a glimpse of Marcus's image. It turns out Marcus is the ruler Dalia was talking about. Colin learned that Marcus resided in the palace within the city, so he agreed to enter the palace with Dalia. However, they encountered a child on their way who insisted on joining them. Seeing the determination in the child's eyes, Dalia reluctantly allowed him to come along. During the journey, the alarm clock on the child's watch suddenly went off, alerting the giant crocodile hiding in the sewer. Colin instructed the two to run first. Dalia accidentally fell into the water while running away. In the nick of time, Colin cut off the crocodile's head. The trio reached the research facility and successfully obtained the antidotes. However, the guards of the castle noticed their presence, and they had to fight their way out. But then Colin headed straight for the elevator. He sensed that Marcus was on the roof. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Marcus was watching his female bodyguard, Kyala, perform. Kyala took out 3 silver needles from her leg and pierced through her opponent's body, killing them instantly. Marcus sensed Colin's presence in the castle and called for Kyala to join him in greeting his old friend. This old friend who has been chasing him for 2,000 years. Colin is still being rude. He came right at him, but Marcus effortlessly evaded Colin's attacks. It seemed like they were not engaged in a fight but rather reminiscing about old times. The battle raged from the interior of the castle to the rooftop, and in the midst of evading, Colin accidentally fell from the rooftop. Dalia, thinking Colin had fallen to his death, turned to leave. However, Colin suddenly grabbed her. Dalia then brought Colin back to their hideout. In Colin's mind, the white-haired old man appeared once again, reminding him that hatred had consumed him. Moya's spirit had followed him all this time, yet he had failed to notice. His heart was filled only with revenge, causing him to miss every chance to reunite with his beloved. Colin woke up with a start. He looked at Dalia with sadness in his eyes. The people in the city expressed their gratitude for the antidote Colin brought back. They were preparing to launch an attack on Marcus, reclaiming their city. Colin, too, decided to join the battle. Afterward, Colin sought out Dalia, realizing that he had forgotten about his beloved in his pursuit of revenge. He expressed his apologies to Dalia, who tightly embraced him, tears streaming down her face. It seemed that Dalia was the reincarnation of Moya. The two held each other tightly. After Dalia fell asleep, Colin slowly walked out of the room. They all gathered at Marcus's camp. Kyala arrived in a helicopter, relentlessly firing at Colin. Colin swiftly swung his weapon, dispatching the robots in front of him. He then used the bullets to ignite the oil barrels nearby. However, Kyala continued to pursue him. Just as Kyala thought she had the upper hand, Dalia arrived and showered the helicopter with gunfire. The wounded Kyala crashed with the plane, but then Kyala woke up from the rubble. Dalia instructed Colin to handle Marcus while she dealt with the remaining robots. Colin reached the top floor, where he saw Marcus preparing to release a toxic gas. He quickly intervened, evading Marcus's attacks and attempting to stop the gas release. However, Marcus stabbed him in the body. The gas started flowing throughout the castle. The infected pigeons dropped from the sky, catching Dalia's attention. In Dalia's momentary distraction, Kyala ambushed her from behind. Using her last ounce of strength, Dalia shoved a grenade into Kyala's mouth, bidding a tearful farewell to Colin. Then, both Dalia and Kyala perished together. Colin, injured and on the ground, sensed Dalia's voice. Slowly, he rose to his feet, preparing for his final confrontation with Marcus. After Marcus was cut off, his body erupted with a tremendous amount of energy. The energy turned the castle into a wasteland. At that moment, the old man appeared behind Colin. The energy released by Marcus prevented the spread of toxic gas. The residents of the city survived,